Venetia, we're just going to give it 2 more minutes and just let everybody come in. You know, it will be a smaller crowd than the normal leaders walks because it's more of a connected workplace. So it's just representatives from the different corporates. So, but I'll just give it 2 minutes just for everybody to come in.
All right, thank you, Carl.
Okay, Venetia, I think in terms of interest in time, I'm going to start, and also the people that are online at the moment. But as I said, some people will join. But good morning, everybody, and welcome to this next Connected Workplace. And we're so pleased to have Venetia from EOH online. And she's going to talk to us about period poverty. It is a campaign that did extremely well in the Gender Mainstreaming Awards. So for those of you that are looking to enter the awards, take some real good tips on what they've done. But Venetia, thank you so much for making time, and thank you to EOH for all the work that you've done in line with the Gender Mainstreaming Awards. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Colleen, and good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for joining this morning's Connected Workplace session. Before we get into this talk, I just want to begin by expressing my gratitude to Business Engage for hosting this Connected Workplace session. I think the dedication of Business Engage to create platforms that foster dialogue and share best practices and to promote that inclusivity in the workplace is not just commendable, but I think, Colleen, it is absolutely transformative. So thank you to you and the Business Engage team. And before we start off, I would also just like to acknowledge our social economic development partner, AfriBiz Foundation, for being an exceptional social economic development partner. I think that winning the overall category in the Women Community Development Award was an impeccable example of collaboration and effective partnership for community development. And a big thank you for everyone that made time to join today's call. So I am Venetia van Wyk. I'm a proud mother of 2, a supportive wife. My passion lies in the empowerment of individuals as well as in communities. I love to drive positive change to sustainable development. I'm rather good at creating impact and I get to drive my purpose through practicing my transformation that I have through my day-to-day job. So I am the Group Transformation Manager at EOH. I've got more than 15 years experience in the different realms of human resources, and a little bit more about EOH. So EOH is one of South Africa's leading tech service providers. We are a technology partner focusing and providing numerous leading JSE listed blue chip companies. Our group offers an area of solutions spanning the entire IT value creation. We provide an end-to-end technology service and integration. Our group also supports clients through digital transformation, and we also offer GRC as a service. So I think, but most importantly, what we do at EOH is we provide people solutions and we tailor those solutions for specific sectors. So, but most importantly, from a EOH perspective in the market, we are known as solvers. So today we will be sharing how we can contribute towards solving for a crucial social economic development challenge, which is called period poverty. So looking in terms of on the next slide, you will see there is a image, right? So as we settle into this moment, I would like to invite you to take a closer look at the image before you. It's more than just a visual. It's a statement, a profound reminder that in our world, every element, every action, and every life is connected. This concept is interconnectedness, just like we're having this workplace connected session. Everything is interconnected. It is not just a theory, but it's a reflection of reality, influencing how we live, how we work, and how we relate to one another. So in my journey, both professionally and personally, I've come to see and experience this interconnectedness firsthand. Whether that would be in projects that I've spearheaded or the teams that I've privileged to have been part of, or even some of the challenges that I've faced, the idea of everything that has been connected has definitely been a guiding principle for me, and it's shaped my approach to solving problems, building relationships, as well as driving innovation. So as we move forward in today's talk, I encourage you to take this image, this idea of interconnectedness in the back of your mind. Let it be a lens through which we examine our topic of the day, which is period poverty. So today, I've structured our talk in 5 points. We will delve around the current reality of period poverty. We'll talk about that stark realities and the multifaceted challenges faced by those affected. We will talk about how do we envision the end state of period poverty, envisioning a world where those barriers are dismantled and every individual has the resources to support and to thrive. We will have a look in terms of how do we bridge the gap. I will share our journey of periods of progress. And lastly, we will talk about how you can get involved in this movement. And I think that each and every one on this call can contribute to the sustainability of this movement, reinforcing the power of collective action. So what I'll be doing differently today is I will be sharing these insights by way of storytelling. I think there's just an undeniable magic in stories, the way it connects us, it empowers us, and it galvanizes us towards collective action. So as we share this narrative, let us remember that we are not just passive observers today. We are part of a whole collective connectedness, and everyone can be active participants in shaping this inclusive world. that we have. So on the next slide, I will introduce a character. I would like to take you to a place deep in the heart of Roseville. A bright 14-year-old girl called Hope. Now, Hope, she had dreams of becoming a software engineer. However, these dreams were overshadowed by a challenge she faced every month, her period. Without access to sanitary products, she was forced to miss school during her menstrual cycle, falling behind her peers, not out of a lack of talent or ambition, but simply because she was born a girl in a place where period poverty is a barrier to education. Hope's story is not unique. It is a daily reality for millions. It's a vivid illustration of how period poverty not only just strips away dignity, but also denies women and girls their right to education, their right to work, to climb out of poverty. It's a stark reminder that our fight for gender equality and women empowerment is far from over. So we might ask ourselves, what is this definition of period poverty? So looking at the next slide, there is a simple illustration of what period poverty is. Basically, what period poverty is limited access to menstrual products. In a nutshell. However, I think that to show our connectedness this morning, and I hope that I would get some participation from those on the team this morning, is that I think that that period poverty that refers to this lack of access of sanitary products, it's a complex socioeconomic issue that affects the dignity, the health, and the well-being of millions of women around the world. It's a global phenomenon. But this morning, I thought, how can I bring this connectedness into our session this morning, just to show how something like for example, like load shedding and period poverty can link us all together. I want to take you back, specifically back to a time in 2008. This is the birth and the introduction of load shedding in South Africa. So I think load shedding resonates with all of us in this session. We all have been impacted by it, and it instantly connects us all. I've been thinking and I've asked myself, how do I bring this definition of period poverty to life with a phenomena that happens on the daily in South Africa? And I thought, let me make this analogy and take South Africans and South Africanize the understanding of the term period poverty and connect it to the impacts that we all face under load shedding. So let me see if we can get some engagement on today's call. I want to ask you guys just to think back those first few days, those first phenomena when we experienced load shedding. What went through your minds? What was the frustrations that you have? So I would like to maybe ask someone on the call maybe to share their experiences. Ilse?
Hi. Yeah, so when load shedding started, my husband works for one of the big private hospital groups, and it was terrifying because seeing it from their perspective, they didn't know what to expect. It was also before big generators was installed in most of the hospitals. People's lives were depending on having electricity. And I remember that first 6 months to a year, they had like arrangements with different garages to actually get diesel. And the one morning, one of the hospitals got to work and someone actually stole one of the mobile generators. So from the beginning, when that hit, it has been like consistently not just a case there's no lights on, but in our household, it was people potentially could die. So it was really scary, and it is still.
Sure. Thank you so much, Ilse, for sharing. And I think as we're all sitting on this call, we might be thinking, how did it impact us on a personal level? How's it impacting my community? And then we think about the micro level. And then we think about impacts on a macro level. I am presenting. I'm not quite too sure if there's more comments or hands up. Okay. So just looking in terms of that, let me take you through to all of that. Let's start off with what these two phenomena has in common. So on the surface, they share more than the act of shedding. And I found the impacts that they have were quite surprising, and they had some surprising parallels as well. And I think in our daily life with the predictability that both were quite frankly, and I think it was quite ironic. So let's start off with the analogy that I found two commonalities in there. So they both have schedules. Just as load shedding has its timetable, it can be reliable as a weather forecast in a propitious climate. Periods do have their own schedule. Theoretically, it's supposed to come once a month, but ask anyone who ever had the period that they'll tell you it is about sometimes as unexpected as ever, or as early, or as frustrating, or it's much like that 8 o'clock time slot where you're just about to make your dinner and start cooking. So despite the schedules and the time slot, both load shedding and periods have a knack of surprising us at the most inconvenient times. So I think the act of preparation, and just think about those facing the brunt of period poverty are often caught without the necessary resources, sanitary pads, much like households that is unprepared for a sudden blackout. Not having access to the essentials that might be a tampon or a torch or a candle. So I think we get to that unpredictability in that. So the consequences of being unprepared are very similar as well. I think as load shedding that can halt businesses. It can halt businesses, it can disrupt studying, it can spoil food, it can impact on medical procedures in hospitals, etc. Period poverty can impede education with girls missing school, limit opportunities, contribute to health products, and not to mention the mental toll that it takes. Both load shedding, they have got, and period poverty, they've got broader issues that we need to focus on. We need to be looking in terms of infrastructure, affordability, accessibility, and how it impacts our daily lives. But as Ilse indicated earlier on, just as communities have found ways to adapt with load shedding through getting backup generators, solar panels, and the humble candle, so too have people come together to address period poverty. So let's have a look in terms on the next slide, how period poverty impacts us. So when we have a look in terms of the real impacts, on the screen you will see some analogies in them. So looking in terms of access to equity, from a load shedding perspective, this really reflects that inequalities that are access to reliable electricity. And then from a period poverty perspective, one can automatically see the disparities in access to menstrual hygiene products and the education that is affecting girls in the low incoming communities. The impact on education, from a load shedding perspective, we can see that it disrupts education. It's causing school closures, limiting technological resources, and basically affecting students and their learning. There was an outcry when the grade 12s had to write their matric final examination during load shedding procedures and etc. And I think from a period poverty perspective, it leads to absenteeism, it leads to dropouts, the lack of menstrual hygiene products, and it's impacting on those opportunities. As we could see with our character Hope, that on the days when she had a menstrual, when she was menstruating, you know, she could not participate in school. So those are the stark realities, that the contrast that I found between the two. From an economic consequences, I think we all understand and agree that SMMEs, small businesses, they are the backbone of our economy. And what we've seen is the destruction of load shedding. And that just basically led to a loss of productivity and job losses, and increase again to another social pandemic of unemployment. So we can see clearly the impacts of load shedding. And when we look at period poverty, it limits the potential of girls to participate in the economy due to missed educational opportunities or health issues. The health issues is something that I want to talk about. When I was doing my research, I've learned that girls use unhygienic and unsafe alternatives like toilet paper, newspaper, socks, rags, and all of these has got consequences that leads to unsafe menstrual practices, which then goes into the health and well-being. And I think the daily impacts of period poverty is not just physical health, but it's due to infections, and it affects mental health, and it then creates to the stigma that we currently have, and so forth. And I think indirectly, when we think about load shedding, how it affects on health and well-being, it indirectly affects health by disrupting healthcare services and limiting access to clean water and etc. From a social and cultural perspective, I think that is clear, you know, that we have. It reflects on this gender equalities that we have. And I think we all understand what we're currently fighting: inequalities, gender equalities, on women empowerment. So it is 16 years later, and we are still solving, and we are still looking towards this envisioned you know, end state of load shedding. Since 2008, it was told that load shedding will be addressed, and we are now here 16 years later. And I think at every State of the Nation address for the past few years, we heard how load shedding will soon be a thing of the past. Just as the latest State of the Nation address, we heard it in a different format. I found that the words starting with the letter R was just overly overused. The president used terms like renew, refresh, revitalize, reform. And I would like you to keep that R's in your mind as we progress to our session later on. So the image that you see in front of you depicts the current state and the future state of period poverty. So this right here in front of you, it's a visual, the representation of showcasing transformation from the current state to an envisioned state of period poverty. On the left-hand side, this image reflects what we've just spoken about: the injustices faced by women and girls due to lack of access of basic necessities for period poverty products. On the right-hand side is symbolizing this image of hope, of inclusive futures, where menstrual health is openly being supported and integrated into communities, into schools, workplaces, whereby we just celebrate menstruation as a source of strength and resilience. And I think from our analogy of load shedding, we now know that this is a long way for period poverty to be addressed. So like load shedding. Well, load shedding is supposed to be a temporary measure on a day-to-day basis, but we can see the impacts and the havoc that it causes on us as South Africans, not just on a personal level, but on a macro level. And so is the impacts of period poverty. Looking at the prevalence rate of period poverty, we're living in a world whereby we have over 500 million women and girls globally that lack access to basic necessities for menstrual hygiene management. And this is not just a figure, it is a profound injustice that affects education, healthcare, and economic opportunities for half the population. So what does that percentage look like for us as South Africans? In South Africa, we've got about 30% of women that don't have access to menstrual supplies. Millions of women and girls worldwide lack access to essential products. They lack access to education, to safe facilities. That isn't just a statistic. It is a barrier to dignity and equality. So we would like to know on this image that we see, more focusing on the right, what do we want a world? How do we imagine a future state of period poverty? I wish that we can be in a world where the natural biological process of menstruation is no longer a source of shame, an obstacle to education, but a reaffirmation of strength and resilience. I envision workplaces, schools, and communities where menstrual health is openly discussed and adequately supported. I think we always, growing up, we kept menstrual as a taboo, as something that is a secret, something that is a shame. You know, we don't talk about this. And I just envision where we can openly discuss and openly practice our menstrual biological flows in the natural way that it is being supported. But yet, as we gather here, that vision remains elusive for millions. In our own communities, where women and children who misses out on education, who are sidelined in the workplace, who face significant health risks, all because of the lack of access to menstrual products, safe sanitization, safe facilities, and the prevalence that the silence that surrounds the monthly cycle. You know, I think we need to ask ourselves, how are we going to close this gap? What should be done? We've now indicated and explained the similarities between two factors that is impacting us. We spoke about what's the current reality, and we spoke about how we envision seeing period poverty. So obviously there's a gap. So what do we need to do to bridge that gap? I think going into that, there's few things that we can do. And I encourage everyone on this call to have an understanding and create an awareness. So we need to create solutions that engage our communities, that reflects, we understand the impacts of period poverty. Understanding is the first step of addressing period poverty. Since I've been involved in the Social Economic Development Initiative, I've learned so much about period poverty. And period poverty is not a rural thing. It's not a township thing. It goes beyond. It's not just even an urban thing. It's a global thing. Looking at the research in terms of how other countries, first world countries, has got an impact on period poverty, it was astounding what I have found. We can do so much by talking and educating girls before they get to their period. If we are going to continue to reinforce the taboos and keep the secrecy and don't talk about period poverty or talk about their periods, where will the young girls go? It's almost like that song, ooh, we don't talk about Bruno. No, because of the taboos. Will they end up like me? So let me tell you a quick story about me and unawareness of period poverty, unawareness of menstrual health. Growing up with the voices of elder women, you were always told that having menstrual cramps is something that is normal and you should just get on with it. And they would say, no, you're just lazy. You need to get on with your work. You're saying that you've got menstrual cramps. You just don't want to do your work. You're weak. And that has been enforced in my life since I got my period as young as I was 15 years old. And I thought that if I show signs of showing my cramps, I'm going to be weak and I need to be strong. And I carried on, had tremendous unpleasant periods for as long as I could remember. And one day when I finally, in my mid-20s, when I finally gained access to medical aid, and I got some benefits to go and inquire about these heavy menstrual pains that I'm having. At that first talk, I was diagnosed with endometriosis at stage 4. Stage 4 is the severest stage that you can find. And for the past 10 years, I've been living with this unexplained cramps because we don't talk about these. We keep it in a secret. We're weak if we show our pain and so forth. So it took me to become part of a circle where women freely spoke about their menstruation. And at that particular social function, I was like, hold on. I feel the same symptoms. Tell me more, tell me more. And that's how I realized that, geez, I've got this endometriosis and I went to go and check it out. So we can prevent all of these things. Ladies are dealing in pain for so many years by just speaking about this, So let a young girl that goes into womanhood not be another Venetia that struggles with painful period poverty, with painful periods for 10 years. Talk about it. Let's remove that stigma. Let's remove this taboos. Who will educate the boys that will become men and how to support their women? We need to ensure that we talk about this and we educate our boys, because these boys will become men and these men will carry and address and support the notion and understanding of period poverty. I'm so proud in terms of how we deal with period poverty in our household. When my daughter got her period, my husband came that day and I saw there was a bunch of flowers and I thought, wow, look at this bunch of flowers. And I was like, my heart racing fast. You get it when you get a surprise. But the flowers were not for me. The flowers was for our daughter. He celebrated a womanhood. And it was something that we do in our household family to ensure that, we address the education and so forth about that. There's lots that we can do. And we need to be supportive of all of these conversations that are coming up. We need to remove the stigma, the shame around periods. Our periods is a natural biological process, and we need to detach this shame around it. Just because of a biological process, some women can't access education and work in the same ways that others can, just because of biological process. And we might be thinking it's just a loss of few days or a loss of few days at school or work. It is more than that. It is a loss of self-esteem. It's a loss of dignity. And it impacts our confidence. So missing a few days of school and missing a few days at work, it's more than just the days that we lose. We need to elevate this highest fact. And I think most of us will be shocked by this following fact. With no periods, there would be no people. With no periods, there would be no people. So I dream of the day for positive periods of progress, for universal access to menstrual products, comprehensive products, menstrual education, improved infrastructure, for reducing the stigma and for stronger partnerships of progress. So now that what we remember from the State of the Nation address, remember I said you need to recall those R's. Wouldn't it be refreshing? Wouldn't it be revitalizing? Wouldn't it be reformative if we just removed period poverty? So now I would like to share with you how we as EOH has dealt with period poverty. In our next slide, you will see this image of how we accelerated women's investment. Remember earlier on I spoke about the interconnectedness. So what I'm going to be sharing with you is 5 ways how we managed and we accelerated and we invested in women's empowerment. And what did we do? So from the image that we showed earlier, that we all interconnected, we basically just connected the dots because we realized that everything that we do is interconnected, whether that would be with legislation, with the workplace, with the community. And let me share that with you. So 1, we adopted the Women Empowerment Principles and we applied the WEPs. We also did the Gender Gap Analysis Tool. This is a brilliant resource. Anyone that wants to start your gender equality journey, please get onto the WEPs program. It is free. Have a look in terms of the resources that's there. We did the gap analysis tool. This provided us with strategies for closing our gaps. And it is also an international benchmark to progress in women empowerment. We adopted 3 vertical streams. 1 is the workplace, the community, and well as the marketplace. So for each of those streams, we have integrated whatever we could. We integrated all of that. And later on, I will share what we've done with the community. Number 2, we integrated our ESG framework principles to our transformation BEE strategy. We again just connected the dots. So if you are a BEE practitioner or transformation practitioner, or you're sitting as a human capital practitioner, connecting the dots. When you do your transformation or your BEE, we can't run those elements. So those elements are 5 elements. We can't run them in isolation. We need to connect them. And we have found that in terms of that. Since we have done that, we have reached our top employer status. Well, we didn't get it the first time around, but the second time around, when we integrated all of these and we connected the dots, we found ourselves that it is just we found that it was a powerful catalyst for economic transformation, for social equity, and for sustainable development. So connect those dots, integrate whatever you can integrate, and focus on the S of your ESG framework. The S is for social. So when we looked in terms of the E of your ESG strategies, we focus on transformation by promoting equity, diversity, and inclusion. The S, we looked at promoting diversity and inclusion, philanthropy, community and social development. The G for governance, we looked at transparency to ensure that transformation is not just a superficial exercise, but it's a structural change in the business landscape. And we will share with you in terms of what we've done with the community component and how we have built this governance process in the social entrepreneurship that we formulated. So Number 3, we've linked our transformation strategy to business imperative, and that's actually how you get buy-in from business and to support the causes. Number 4, if you are transformation and you're looking after the social economic development strategy, what we have done is we have linked our social economic development strategy to some key sustainable development goals. We focused on education, we focused on women inclusion, digital skills, no poverty, and etc. Those was around about 4 or 5 that we selected and created that linkage to SDGs and social economic development. The last one that we've done is, and this one is really a mind blower. We basically integrated our inclusion strategy to accelerate empowerment through volunteerism. Everyone, we gave people the opportunity to be part of the initiatives. So we've also linked our volunteerism initiative to our social economic development strategy, which is linked to the to the sustainable development goals. So herein you can see the interconnectedness that we have. So this is basically where we can see this holistic, integrated, transformative process that can accelerate gender equality and women empowerment. So the next slide is, you see the beautiful image of our youth solvers. Her name is Maputi. Maputi is part of our we integrated our inclusion strategy to our social economic development. Maputi was a youth solver. So youth solver is just part of our inclusion strategy. It is a group of young people that we select in the business in terms of young leaders that we train and develop to solve for socioeconomic development challenges. Maputi went on to be an ambassador for the One Young World, and they basically looked in terms of how do they solve leaders. So on an annual basis, about 2,000 young people meet. I think the last session was done in Europe, and 2,000 young people go and meet. This is the future leaders to solve for social economic development issues. They came back and they said they wanted to work on addressing period poverty. I then said, well, let's link it to our transformation strategy. And the strategy was then linked again to our ESG. We focused on the S and what happened. What happens when ESG principle collides with BE transformation? And as you can see, that from Maputi's impact statement, that she felt she had the sense of purpose that EOH gave her. And they went on to do wonderful things. And what we would like to basically provide you with now is just to show you an actual what happens when ESG principle collides with BEE, when it collides with transformation. I will provide an example of community efforts that was fostered for periods of progress, and it's basically our period poverty project. We embarked on this remarkable project alongside with our SED partner, AfriBiz. AfriBiz works with a number of world-recognized entities such as Global Citizen, UN Nations Women, World Health Organization, Association for Women's and Rights in Development, the Relief Society, and a number of local non-profit organizations. AfriBiz, their mission is skills development, community development, and women empowerment, and lastly, emancipating period poverty. So we will show you now a video of all our efforts of how we created an advancement and empowerment of women with regards to period poverty. So yeah, the video will play shortly. For EOH, we are known to be solvers, and the reason why we have partnered with AfriBiz, it is part of our social economic development strategy. What do we want to do from an SED perspective? So whatever we do, we want to create economic inclusion as well as economic participation. And for us, looking at the proposition that AfriBiz has brought to us, it was a no-brainer. One, it empowers women. Two, it brings about skills development as well as an opportunity for women to become inclusive in the mainstream economy in terms of having their own business at the end of the day. And I think for us it's important to drive awareness of period poverty.
With, I think, the vision of EOH to come on board and support period poverty and also impact women at large. You know, it falls into their vision of women empowerment, and I think it's one of the greatest things, because not only are they empowering women in different sectors and in different roles that they play, but they've gone back to empower young girls at a starting point in their lives, where we believe that this partnership will not only create a sustainable solution for young girls, but it will create a number of jobs in Gauteng and in KZN, and I think that's highly impactful for what they stand for and what they envision. So thank you to EOH for the partnership, and we look forward to building a better future together.
So, ladies, what you see on the video in front of you, it is a collective action, a real collective action of hard work. And this project, so the key milestones of this project, it upskilled 40 young women and with manufacturing skills, 20 from KZN and 20 from Gauteng. It brought about employment within local and rural communities. It was an opportunity for inclusion of people with disabilities. We were quite adamant and said no one will be left. We needed everyone to participate. We requested that we want to have females with disabilities partaking in this project. So the provision of training to manual labor skills that will always be a need in manufacturing, in the manufacturing market. This project not just solve for the critical issue of period poverty to produce environmental friendly reusable sanitary products. It is empowering the young ladies to grow and soon to become business owners through the registration of a cooperative to establish a social enterprise with our partner AfriBiz. So herein lies the greatness of being interconnectedness, something that started off as a CSI initiative that went on as a social economic development project that touched on skills will now also touch on enterprise development, because we will be supporting these young ladies to become business leaders. But the most powerful thing of all is that something that started as a SED initiative will now impact the greatest element on the scorecard, which is our ownership. We're intending to register this as a cooperative, and this will state us in good faith in increasing our ownership score at the end of the day. Isn't that wonderful? And this is just by creating sustainable development as well as creating sustainable triple BEE. I think that is just wonderful. So it is, as I said earlier on, it just brings a sense of togetherness. It brings a sense of belonging. On our next slide, I would like to just highlight that what we're currently doing now is support another individual. Remember our character Hope in the beginning? Not all hope was lost, because through partnering with AfriBiz and following our social economic development strategy, we gave Ayanda some hope. And this is a beautiful story of where Ayanda can give back with her 2 hands that she got. This is a story that encapsulates the S in the ESG framework. Her career progression gave hope to many young children and to many young ladies in her organization. So we all can see that there's always hope. And I'm so proud of Ayanda. She's used her two hands to pay it forward, to make the difference for others, as well as progressed and increased. And this is the story. This is transformation as we speak. And great thanks again to AfriBuzz for the nurturing and for growing the young girls. We're extremely proud of that. So looking at the next slide that we have, this is an example of interconnectedness. What we see here is our sponsors. At the back, we can see Megan Pardiado, our previous CFO for EOH. We brought to her and we said to her, this is what we want to do. And her passion for women empowerment said, I'm going to push for this. She brought her entire team to support this initiative. So at the back, we can see her two ICs, her team members. We made this period poverty project a project of our inclusion strategy. We can see we've got volunteers over there. These are people that feel something to the cause. At the back, you can see a gentleman with a bow tie. He is an ally for girls with period poverty because he said that my boy is going to become a man and I need to show him the way. Ladies, we've got our youth solvers. These are future leaders within EOH that spearheaded this project. And there on the right-hand side, the lady with the pink, we also have some incredible partnerships. This is a representative of Curate. Curate is an organization that focus on menstrual education. So if you want to get involved in removing the stigma and doing something about period poverty, reach out to Curate. They are a non-profit organization, and they are the ones that assist in helping educate organizations, communities, girls about the power of their period. So in a nutshell, this picture definitely just paints a picture of hope, really. So some key learnings that we shared as EOH. Well, I think that we thought that this project would succeed by investing money in the project, by getting equipment and machinery and raw materials. And we thought, well, we've done our job. But then we found that we've learned some key experiences, and firsthand we've learned the challenges of small businesses, and specifically women in small businesses. So through this experience, we've now walked the journey in the shoes of the challenges of small businesses, and we've learned why businesses fail. Small businesses need support. They need monetary support, but more importantly, they need that non-monetary support, that being the support that EOH provided them from a mentoring perspective, from a coaching perspective. Our SED partner, AfriBuzz, has extended in a partnership with EOH. AfriBuzz walked the journey with both our hubs that's allocated in Wynberg, in Gauteng, and Amanzimtoti in KZN. They will grow these young ladies with the help of EOH and possibly with the help of you. To grow them to grow into successful entrepreneurs through the registration of this cooperative. We can't be, we are so grateful for an NPO that is focusing on career progression, community development, and skills development. So, yeah, looking at our next slide that we have is that in celebration and commemorating International Women's Day on the 8th of March, and in line with the theme, of the UN Women Accelerate and Invest in Women Empowerment. This year, the UN Women has got 3 elements. One of them is poverty. We have now looked in terms of celebrating what the International Women's Day wants to achieve by eradicating poverty. We ask to join hands to eradicate period poverty. We want to help and end period poverty for 10,000 girls. So what we would ask is that look out for our International Women's Day campaign, support her flow. Again, we do have an ally within our CEO of EZHQ, Fatima Newman. So we ask of you guys to look out for that campaign that will start 1st of March. But we don't have to wait for 1st of March to get involved in this issue. There are 2 things that we can do right now. So what would that be? One is we can have a change in mindset. If we can change the slide to the next. We need to have a change in mindset, and that we can do right now. We don't have to wait for a campaign to start. We need to break the silence, the stigma, the taboos surrounding menstruation. We need to amplify the challenges of period poverty. We need to silence having these silent discussions about education. I think this is crucial for progress and empowerment. We need to spread the word, and that is going to create change. And we need to share this cause, because like hope, there are millions and millions that have lost hope. So let's learn and let's educate. Let's get an understanding of how we can end period poverty and how we can bring period poverty. Let's be a steward who is an ally in supporting these initiatives that's teaching his boy child to grow and teaching his boy child to become a boy so that he can prepare himself for manhood. Let's understand and get an end to period poverty. I think understanding is the first step to ending period poverty. And the next thing that you can do, of course, is to, on the next slide, you can see you can donate. Just 100 Rand can supply a girl child with menstrual products for up to 5 years. Organizations that has joined that would like to become corporate sponsorships for donations for CSI or SED initiative, the benefit is that donations to AfriBiz Foundation qualify for tax certification, and you also now understand that you will be partnering with an organization that got 4 things in mind: women empowerment, skills development, community development, and the emancipation of period poverty. So you can log on to our EOH website, follow the social economic development tab, or link onto the AfriBiz Foundation website, whereby you can contribute using PayPal or PayShop in terms of that. On our next slide, what do we have? This is definitely something, a quote that is so powerful that I would like to end off and close off with. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the one thing that ever has. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to how EOH addresses period poverty and accelerates an advancement of women. I trust that you've enjoyed the key learnings of the session, and hope that we have more allies and more sponsors and give more hope to those in need. So with that, thank you so much. I'm not quite too sure if there's any questions. Business Engage, and for everyone that attended, thank you again. I think these sessions are truly transformative. Thank you. I see that we have a hand.
Hi, Venetia. I just want to commend you on incredible work that you and EOH are doing, and thank you so much for such an informative presentation and just covering period poverty in such a holistic way in terms of trying to solve it. So I just want to give a quick introduction. I also run an organization that focuses on eradicating period poverty. So we started back in 2016 as also a non-profit organization, PBO registered, and we love the work that you're doing. We love the work that the corporates are actually focusing or steering a lens towards advocating for women in the workplace and in the communities. I think also within the workplace, when you gave the stellar analogy of load shedding, when a woman's on her period, it also just hampers productivity and her participation in the workplace. So from a workplace perspective, from a community perspective, and from a schooling perspective, I just want to commend you on the work that EOH is doing. And I love the fact that you're also raising funds for International Women's Day. We're also doing a similar campaign. So we'd love to touch base with you afterwards and see how we could also further collaborate. My name's Chelsea from Al International.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. And as the quote that I ended off with, it is simply just making sure that we look at doing this in a collective way. We are indeed all connected. So thank you so much for the efforts that you are doing towards period poverty. Much appreciated. And I'm looking forward to engaging with you and connecting with you. Hi, Ilse.
Hey, Venetia. So yeah, I'm the lead for Disability Employee Forum within Vodacom. So I'm looking towards having a webinar, probably end of March, April, looking specifically at things like endometriosis and meiosis to help with the education, that people are aware the impact, and also that the impact is on working females. So if there's any collab opportunities, I would love to reach out to you, because I think this is something that we really need to keep on driving, and for the next generation to not be as uneducated as some of us were. And it was very interesting when you were saying that people still got these preconceived ideas of talking about it. So we did a video on mental health and also diabetes. And we were like asking in this little video, the character was saying, and during her monthly cycle, you know, some of the symptoms are worse. And I got so many feedback from some of the females within Vodacom saying, how can you talk about it? And I'm like, something so natural. It shouldn't be something that we are trying to still hide under, like, and not talk about it. So it's very interesting that you were talking and sharing something very similar. Thanks.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it is periods are something that is private, but it should not be a secret. And there is the stigma that's there. We need to do something to break the cycle so that our young and upcoming girls don't have to go through what we went through. We need to have more of these social circles that we can openly engage and have safe spaces to talk about this. And yeah, I really value the collaboration, because that is how we're going to eradicate period poverty. Good.
Thanks, Venetia.
Right. So everyone on the call, thanks again. Thank you for your time. We've got Elmarie Crenier.
Hi, Venetia, and hi, everybody on the call. Pardon, I'm driving in my car, so I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I think what stands out for me, Venetia, and apart from the fact that we saw you walk this journey and what an absolute changer this is, even for me as a woman, to start opening up these discussions. And it was, for me personally, sort of a stigma and something that was broken down. And I think for me, it was amazing just to see this journey. What I want to share is the gentleman that said that he wants to be part of it because he's got a son and he wants him to know and bringing up. And that for me was so profound, that this is not just a gender issue, that this is something that everybody can participate in. And I think that's also where the power lies, is to say this is not a female issue and something, like you said, it's private, but it's not a secret. And I really love those two quotes. And for me, it is breaking those barriers that we're starting to do. And I just love the participation of males on these types of projects and really be trailblazers in this topic. And that was more just a comment of what I feel about this project as well, is breaking those barriers.
Thank you so much, Elmarie, for that. Indeed, breaking barriers starts with understanding. And yeah, I really feel good that we've managed to create these sessions. Thank you so much for the collaboration. I see that you have put up your details. We'll definitely be in contact. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm not sure if there is any more comments. If not, let us support International Women's Day. If you have not have an initiative as yet, remember you can start as little as just engaging with a young girl or a young boy, or as just supporting someone in need of menstruation products. You can do so by going to check out the AfriBus Foundation website, or check out our EOH Social Economic Development tab to hear and see more about our efforts in this space. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you.